What's going on, guys? 12 Days of Christmas continues, today with Deathspell Omega's 2010 outing, Paracletus. Now, I'm going to go on ahead and preface this review by saying that there are some tracks on this album that I will not be able to properly pronounce the names for, so forgive me in advance for you hardcore Deathspell fans out there. I'm not very good with some of these names, especially the last track, so I will attempt to do my best. Now, Deathspell Omega has been recommended for me to review for quite some time now. Not just from friend of the show Vince, but other people have messaged me before asking if I would review Deathspell, and I had been told that their 2010 album Paracletus was the most accessible of their albums to get into, so I figured, why not? Let's give it a listen and find out what we're dealing with here. Why do people praise Deathspell Omega so much? And after listening to this album, I have quite a few thoughts and theories as to why people enjoy Deathspell Omega so much. So, first off, genre-wise, this is a very modern production of black metal. Black metal to me has always been a genre where I've been iffy on, mostly due to the production, and this album is very sound when it comes to its production. Nothing too cheap sounding here. It definitely sounds like an album with a lot of love and care put into its production. But going into the tracks, we have an intro track, Paracletus, which sets the tone for the album in a very beautiful way. It also introduces a leitmotif that you will hear throughout the rest of the album, sparsed in between some tracks. This album is divided up into about 2 or 3 different pieces which are separated with that particular leitmotif. Trust me, you'll know it when you hear it. And then we kick off with Wings of Predation, which is a highlight on this album for me, and I've actually heard this song many times before, mostly with hanging out with Vince, and I think this is an album that he plays a lot in his car. This is definitely a song that I've heard more than 10 times, and is always a highlight, in my opinion, when we're in the vehicle. Then we're stuck with Obsession and Dearth, which, after kicking it off with Wings of Predation, I feel that these two tracks aren't necessarily, I wouldn't go as far as to insult them calling them filler, but they are inferior to what we had opening the album. I think that they're okay songs, but nothing really of notoriety here. Then we get Phosphine, which took me by surprise when in the middle of the song, and for those of you who think that extreme metal is nothing more than just yelling at the top of your lungs, there are certain points in this song which caught me off guard because random screams of terror and Phosphine, maybe people are burning somewhere. Oh. And so that was definitely a highlight track for me as well, just for that little part. And then we have Paracletus and Malconfort, which again I think suffer from, except, well, maybe Paracletus does, but Malconfort is definitely a standard chugging along track where which really just serves as a bridge into Have You Beheld the Fevers and Devouring Famine, which in my opinion it's like this. Malconfort is like a bridge into a city that is on fire, and people are killing each other in any way, shape, or form, and that city is called Have You Beheld the Fevers and Devouring Famine. Devouring Famine being probably my favorite track off of the album. These two tracks are solid. Can't really say anything bad about them until we get to the last track, which I'm going to completely butcher this name, but forgive me. Apostasis Panton. That is definitely not right, but a nice 4-minute closer to the album, which culminates into an ultimate form of intensity. I had never listened to a Deathspell Omega album before, and after listening to this and having heard that some of their previous work is a lot more extreme than this, I'm not sure how far back I'm wanting to go. I guess it's going to be dependent on what the production of those albums sounds like. But with this album, it's got an average of about 88% on Metal Archives right now, and I'm going to have to go a little bit higher than that. This is definitely one of the black metal albums that I've been wanting to hear, but sadly haven't in my research have not been able to find many albums quite like this. And I guess that's a good thing, but can also be a bad thing in some instances. But I really enjoyed listening to this album. Awesome cover, by the way. I've seen it before. I can't remember where, but definitely awesome cover art as well. I was impressed with this album. I really enjoyed listening to it, and I feel like it's an album that I will fully be able to appreciate the more that I listen to it. I only listened to this album once, from forward to end once, but then I had to kind of refresh myself on some tracks, such as Obsession, because when I was sitting down to review this, I'm like, I don't even remember what that track sounded like. And I guess that kind of goes into the production of the album as well, is that a lot of these tracks are very seamless in flow, and when you're not looking at your computer when this is playing, you can kind of lose track of what song you're listening to. So I feel like this is an album that I need to go back and I need to listen to a little bit more, but honest opinion, I would give this a 9 out of 10. This is an extremely excellent effort. Never listened to an album by these guys before, but I definitely want to go through their back catalog. So 9 out of 10 for me. Danny here from Metal Couch, signing out.